Hello, welcome to Guide Through Grief, Episode 1. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending some time to see if this will be something that will help you. My name's Tom Van Ness. I am your guide. I am your host. I am going to be someone that tries to help give you some definition and boundaries to your grief. Through my lens and through my experiences, I hope you can find some comfort and some peace and some definition to your grief. Here in episode 1 and 2, we're going to focus on the story of my grief journey. What happened to me? What happened to our family? But to do that, and throughout this season, I've asked a friend to help co-host with me. And that person is here with me, sitting across the table, Bob Woolsey.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm here. I'm happy to be here.
Me too.
Yeah, I guess happy is a weird word to say in situations like this, but as we get through season 1, season 2, and then into other stories, words like happy, words like and have completely different definitions to them that I find. And I think people that go through grief can spend years trying to understand some of this. So that's what we're going to hopefully do. Bob, I met a few years ago here in the Peoria area through my last job at a TV station. I did advertising and marketing. Bob has a very successful retail business in jewelry. And that'd be fair. I mean, you have a lot more than just jewelry there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, but that's your bread and butter. Yeah.
Try to make people happy.
And then he does a great job of it. Another side of Bob I got to know early in our relationship was his approach towards gratitude. And there is a gratitude towards grief that we struggle to wrap our arms around and understand because our mind wants to try to understand grief and process it, but we can't. So there's a level of just having gratitude for the experience and the feeling that we have. In fact, it's, Bob, I don't know if you would agree with this, but grief is the one experience, loss, grief is the one thing every person in the world will experience.
100%. Yes.
Not everyone has to experience happiness. Not everyone gets to experience love. Not everyone gets to experience pure joy. Everyone experiences loss. So I will talk about other things we will be doing in seasons 1 and 2, and as we get into season 3 and thereafter. But today, like I said, is really, I needed to give a little backstory of why I feel comfortable sitting here.
Sure.
Not only talking about my experiences with grief, but also as we have other guests here, helping you, the listener, and the viewer, why I may feel qualified. So I guess we'll get started with that part of the story. Are you ready?
I'm ready. And
Is there anything you want to say?
No, I'm just excited to get started, and dates matter. So April 3rd, 2023.
Yeah.
Take me through the morning, the day, the afternoon, the evening, and that's where it all started.
Yeah. April 3rd, 2023. It was our second day of spring break. We were down in Marco Island, Florida. It was Lesley, myself, my 2 boys. At the time, they were 8 and 7. Also, my mom and my mother-in-law were with us. It was the first time we took our parents or any part of our parents with us on a vacation like this. This vacation we normally did over spring break was down to visit my grandfather at his condo. It's where I grew up going as a kid. It's where Lesley and I spent some of our honeymoon. It's where I have 30-some years of memories stored at this condo on this island in this part of the country. And we're going on a fishing expedition, really normal day. One of the hottest days that they've had that year. We were catching a lot of great fish. We did a little guided fish deal back in the tributaries and catching all kinds of fish you only see in aquariums. Like even the guy was kind of blown away with some of the fish we were catching, or actually just the boys were catching. Leslie's taking videos and pictures of all of it, and it seems normal. We go home that night, have a great dinner. We actually hear people talk about the green flash. If you don't know what the green flash is, Google it. Green flash, Gulf of Mexico, green flash, ocean. It's a phenomenon that happens with the lighting, the water, the sun. For 40 years, my grandfather had like, oh, everyone come and look. And like, oh, did you see it? And no, we never saw it. This night we did. Clear as day. I have it up in my room, a picture, like Sterling even took a picture with his Polaroid camera and he caught it on the Polaroid camera.
Awesome.
And so that was one of the last pictures we ever like took when our family was at its like last. Sun goes down, everyone goes to bed. Lesley goes to bed a little bit earlier. Middle of the night, she wakes me up. Something's wrong. We need to go to the emergency room. And she was not one to lay into feeling bad or feeling sick. In fact, she usually kind of like pushed some of those feelings and sickness in to play the mother role or to do her job and do all of the traveling and everything that came along with it. So when she said that, it was like, jump out of bed, let's go. And we go, it's about a 30-some minute drive to the nearest emergency room off the island. It's middle of night, so not much traffic. We get there. Normal process. They treat us for dehydration. They said, you can stay and we can give you some more IV and give you some time to rest, but otherwise just go home and things haven't changed in 24 hours. Come on back. So we go home and she goes to bed, or at least tries to. Not much luck in the day. We call and get some medicine, or to get some medicine over the counter stuff. It gets to be middle of the night the next night, so the 4th, and she's gotten worse. She doesn't want to go all the way off the island again because it's only a couple hours till the walk-in on the island opens. So we wait to go to the walk-in, like right when they open at 7. We get there and someone else like hustled in just before us. So we were second. And this person was just what seemed like taking an eternity to check in. And Leslie's like, by the moment, getting worse. Like, like pale. Like to me, it's like, oh, she's going to get sick. I just want to get her back, not out in a public area. And I kind of pop around the ladies like, ma'am, my wife is doing really bad. I think she's going to pass out. Can we at least get her back there? And they come and get her. And about 4 minutes later, everything changed. And they came in and they said that they believe my wife was under some kind of like maybe toxic shock syndrome and needed immediate medical attention that they did not have the capabilities of dealing with there. And they were calling an ambulance. And Lesley started to get up off the table and walk out the door. She's like, my husband will take me. And starts like almost crawling out to the car door. And I'm begging her to stay. And at this point, she's not listening. She just wants to go. And I walk out the door with her. And we, as fast as I think I've ever driven, start driving toward the emergency room we were already at, or at the night before. Fighting traffic, weaving in and out. And we get probably 10 minutes away. And Leslie's taking off her jewelry in the car.
Wow.
Like her necklaces, her glasses, and all those little things. And she's just putting them in my hand. And like, hold on to these, because I know they're going to take them off. And so she then takes off the wedding ring, like just before we pull in, and like puts that on my pinky. And she goes, you keep that one on you. And it was the ring I got from you about a year earlier for our 10-year anniversary. And we pull in and there's like the first 3 rows, I think, are all handicap parking. And so I just kind of pull up on the curb by the door, run around, get her out, put her on the bench. And I swing my car around and try to find a parking spot. About a month prior, I had ripped 30% of my meniscus in my left knee. So, like, running wasn't something I could do. Even a walk was all that great. And so it's just taking, like, what it feels like forever to get back to Lesley through the parking lot, and I get there and she's gone. And I see, like, the doors close to the emergency room, and I see a nurse, like, waving me. And I get in there, and they already have her back. They're processing, and, they said she collapsed. We came out and got her. And, that was, I think, one of the first of 3 times her heart failed, was, like, the moment I dropped her off, like, to then, like, move the car. And I go back in the emergency room, and it's like what you see in the movies. It's like what we saw in COVID, like in some of those hospital scenes, like where they were getting the shots through the windows, like almost like in the studio here, like this would be the surgery room, and that was where you could see from the hallway. Like it was gowns and readings and x-rays, and I'm just standing there. Like, what do I do? Um, I'm texting her mom, get here ASAP. Like, I don't know how you're gonna do it, just get here. And she got there eventually, and they did an x-ray pretty quickly. Her right lung was completely engulfed in pneumonia. And she had, after the fact, we found out it was strep A pneumonia. She had the most common form of bacterial infection, on steroids. It got into her bloodstream, infected her bloodstream. By about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they got her stabilized enough to be moved up to ICU. She had over a 99% mortality rate when we moved her up to ICU. I didn't know that until kind of the closing about a week later. The next 5 days leading up to Easter, on April 9th, were drag out days, just no sleep.
I think you referred to it as the 6 days of hell.
They kept saying, like, we got a little bit of an edge here, but we had to still battle this there. Maybe this will be a little bit better. We need 48 hours here. Like, there's just prolonging. But it was sitting there helplessly watching my wife go away, die. Um, Her skin, the looks. By Easter, so this was like 4 days, 5 days in. Um, it was We were still looking to survive this, but the outlook had really changed of what we were going to be surviving, what she was going to survive. She was going to maybe survive, but she was going to be a full amputee. And I say some of these details because I'll get to it later, but um, feeding tubes and amputations and year-long recovery of in the hospital.
Wow.
And so now, as I'm sitting here trying to fight with my wife and get her through this, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this with an 8 and 7-year-old, and how they're going to have to go home here in a couple days. And I haven't had a chance to tell them what's happened.
So I remember reaching out to you. It was Good Friday because a friend that we share, Chris, told me you should reach out to Tom. He's going through something pretty rough. Not sure exactly what was going on. So I look back this morning on the texts, and you were relatively upbeat Friday. And then Saturday alluded to this is getting a little crazier. We're going to shift it from texting because of how many people I need to keep up to speed. And you set up a Caring Bridge site.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're all pretty commonly, aware of going through trials and tribulations with family or friends or someone where they set up that site. Where was your brain in that moment because I've always admired your nature of just taking charge and making sure everybody else around you, family, friends, and everybody are really in the know. And tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, I feel like we could do a whole season just on like the couple days in the hospital. I mean, I guess we kind of are. I mean, just a couple episodes, I could do a whole season, like breaking down the days and the impact they
Hmm.
had. Um, at core, for different reasons, it's a different therapeutic show. Probably, I'm a people pleaser. Um, I love serving for others. We won't get into the reasons why,
Sure.
but I've always liked that. Whether it's been someone's ad rep or a friend or a partner or a parent, I want to always show up like the best I can. That's what I just feel like I'm here for, you know? So, I mean, there were people like a group of Leslie's friends, like 3 or 4 of her best friends, that like the moment this happened, I texted them and they were one of the first people I was updating every time, and that those little updates and those people that would be able to pray or pass vibes along. I said that in a lot of the posts, like no matter if you pray, preach, vibe, send thoughts, whatever it is you do, like I need it. And I don't care. I don't need to get in the semantics of what you do and how you do it. If you do it in a brick and mortar place like a church, cool. If you do it at the base of your bed, great. If you can do it while you're driving and just passing thoughts, I will take all of it. And that was, I don't know, maybe that's faith at its finest. Um, and that's where you can find hope.
Hmm.
Um, so that's where some of that came from. But it then became just way too much, like you said, because there were so many moving pieces of not only Leslie's medical situation, but now I'm trying to balance what even goes out as information so it doesn't circle back around to the boys before I have a chance to talk to them. Um, and I guess to back up on that, to give our listeners an idea of how that happened. So she was admitted on the 5th. Um, Her mom stayed with her that night, like after we got up to ICU. Like Lesley was still talking faintly, barely, like around dinner time. It was just a real big struggle. Um, really low oxygen levels, and she was only working on one lung. She's like, "You need to go home with the boys tonight because you're not going to be there really with them again after tonight because I want you here. My mom and your mom's here to be with the boys." So I was like, marching orders accepted. Like she told me exactly what she wanted me to do, and that's just what I did. So I went home that night, stayed with the boys, got up early, had breakfast with them, went out and did our beach walk for seashells like we'd done every time, no matter what. Just so they felt like it was still a normal vacation. Um, I didn't see him again for 4 days. It was on the night before Easter. Lesley was finally for the first time stable enough to where if something went south, I had time to get back.
Got it.
That was my measuring stick. When my stepfather passed away, we needed something up at the store. I was like, I'll go get it. And he was one of my heroes. And when I ran up to the store, he passed away. I missed it. And I was very fearful of that happening here. Even though I didn't want it to happen, I was not going to not be by her side. So they said they felt very confident that I could go home for the night. And if something was starting to go south, I would have time to be there. So Leslie's mom came back. Leslie's dad was now also made it down. My youngest sibling made the world upside down and got Leslie's dad flown down there. And one of Leslie's best friends, who's also a doctor, flown down just to kind of help transcribe the information we were getting to a level where we could actually have a doctor sit with us and explain to us what was happening and it not be a doctor that was trying to save my wife. Because every moment they're out talking to us, they're not paying attention to Lesley, or there's like 12 other patients in this ICU, you know? So they stayed with her. I went home with the boys, and this is where is the first chance I had to tell them like what had happened, and that their mom was really sick. You know my personality. You know I'm quick on my feet, witty. I can be a good salesperson.
Mhm.
So they are eating the dinner they brought home, and in it are tater tots. Okay, my boys get strep throat a lot. They at that age that's gets passed around like candy at the elementary school. So I grab a cookie sheet and I start ripping up the tater tots, like all of their tater tots, and start spreading them across the cookie sheet. And after I'm done doing that, I take one little piece. I'm like, boys, when you guys get strep throat, like it's right here. And I take a piece of the tater tot and I like stick it at their throat, like where they point their throat hurts when they have strep throat. I said, this is your strep throat. This cookie sheet is mom's lung. And this is all strep that got there. And then I said to clean it up, I took the ketchup out and squeezed ketchup all over tater tots. And then just like started slowly eating it. And I said, this is the medicine. And they just got to slowly like eat at it and clear it all up. Like we have to do medicine for 10 days, like to clear up that one little spot. We have all of this. So I just don't know how soon mom and I are going to be. Like it might be like Halloween, and this was Easter.
How did they respond to that?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
They understood.
Yeah. Did you know
No.
what was coming?
Mm-mm. At this point, we were still in survival setting. Like it was, mom's going to make it, but it's going to be a long time before we're all together again.
Did they ever see her in the hospital?
No. I told them I went over the garbage can and I dumped all of it down. I came back over and there's still some crumbs and some like remnants of ketchup. I said, even after it's done, guys, it's still,
Gonna be around.
yeah. And mom's probably not going to look all the same. Just like this was her lung, and it's not really ever going to be the same.
So fast forward to that Saturday, that Sunday when things start to go really, really south, and you
Yeah. So
probably started to get
Sunday
an
came around
idea
on
that you're
Easter. Yeah. I got back Sunday morning and the rounds had happened, and the doctor had been with us all week. This was kind of her last day, because she was going back. She's normally not at that hospital. She was kind of covering. And because of the severity of Lesley and some of the others, she had stuck around to be there all week and do some extra commuting down and being involved. But this was her last day. And then we were going to get a new doctor. But overnight, gangrene had set in. Every conversation changed. The look in their face. There was still the willingness to fight, and the readiness to do it. But it was like, I talked about the mortality rate when we moved up there of like 99, like 99 and a half, 99.7 or some number like that is what she told me on Easter morning when we got up there a week earlier, several days earlier. We had gotten down to like maybe 97 and a half after all of that. Like I was thinking we were at like 50. And I was off. Like my hope. That's what hope does. That's what faith does.
Yeah.
It covers the gap. It's like gap insurance.
Yeah, and it gives you the idea that this is still worth fighting. I'm gonna pour all my energy into it. And I think you I don't know, a couple of months after Lesley passed away, you came in and shared your story and the journey. And talk to me a little bit about when it started to transition from there is no more hope. You have to take care of the boys. You have to take care of the rest of the family. You've got some really challenging decisions that are coming up.
Yeah, so I think once again on Good Friday, Saturday, and again on Easter, there's there's 3 families back here where we live. 4 families, 3 of them are here in the neighborhood, 1 lives like a half mile down. And I was already setting the scene for, like, I knew I probably wasn't gonna be able to get back with the boys for a week, and I wasn't gonna be able to tell them much for that, so I was trying to build in a cocoon for them in that first week with these families and the grandparents of, like, "Hey, this is where the places the boys can go to after school," of where the parents know what's going on. The kids will just be able to play like normal. Let's try to avoid what's going on other than just knowing mom's sick. And as it got worse, it was more of like with the parents, it was like, it's just at the point I think I was just telling them it was going to be a lot longer. I didn't necessarily tell them what most likely the outcome was going to be. The hospital, you know, discussed about how we're going to care for her until the end. Like that's how the conversation transitioned.
So you've
Of
gone from fishing, green flash, hospital, hope,
ICU,
ICU to we're going to care for her, more of a hospice type.
yeah. Yeah, that happened at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Easter. I remember calling my boss. I remember calling Leslie's boss. I remember calling a couple of her friends. And in that conversation, the doctor said, Leslie had been in medically induced coma the entire time. And they said, in those situations, hearing is the last sense to go. And they suggested if I was okay, prepared, ready, that I should sit down next to Lesley and tell her that it's okay for her to do what she wants to do, what she needs to do. And if God's calling her home, it's just time to go home.
Hardest thing you've ever done in your life?
I didn't do it right away.
Yeah.
That was on April 9th. So going through the shock and through the conversations and just trying to have moments with her. And um, oh, there were conversations with my priest, his wife, where we were praying and singing hymns over her. Um, there was throughout the week, whenever there was moments I had nothing else to pray or say, there was a song that I sang to her just out of for the sake of it. The first time it happened, there was nothing else that came to my head than the lyrics of the song, saying that I'd travel halfway around the world just to be by your side. And I just kind of kept singing the rest of the song. It's song "Steady as We Go" by Dave Matthews Band, and but it got to be 2 o'clock in the morning on the 10th, and I realized I hadn't told her yet that it was okay. Like I'd been sitting there and like telling people what was going to happen. I even made a post that there's still some hope, but it was a bad day today, so it's just going to be time. Um, it's around 2:30 in the morning. I sat down and had a conversation with her and told her I just had a conversation with her that I did, and it wasn't 2 minutes after I got done, her vitals started to fall, and her oxygen levels started to fall, and all the things the doctor said that would happen when it would start the final process was starting to happen. Leslie's parents had said bye the night before and said, "If it happens in the middle of the night, don't worry about calling us." It got to be about 8 o'clock in the morning, and it it was gonna be within an hour, and her parents got there. And they got to say bye to her another time, and I did, and, um, I chose not for the boys to come up. The last memory they had of their mom was seeing that green flash and fishing, and she traveled for 4.5 months out of the year. So they did she just finished her spring, like, run around where she was gone for, like, 2.5 months, and this was, like, our celebration of, like, mom's off the road, we're back together as a family. And I just at their ages, I didn't wanna ruin those images.
Mhm.
That wasn't my wife. That was there. It was, but I was scared to hold her hand, kiss her forehead, because it might hurt, you know, a tube or a machine or a reading or, I couldn't imagine what it would be like for the boys to walk into that setting.
I think the, memory of the green flash fishing
Yeah.
is, the
T
right decision, and I think that, you never know it at the time. You do the best you can, and whether it's the good Lord or whatever takes over, and I think you can feel good about that.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the saying? You can't go back and cry over spilt milk. Like, there's that's something I have to remind myself a lot in this process, you know? Whether I go back and look 2 years back or 2 hours back, what I've done has been done.
Yes, and, so get to the very end and your memories of, ultimately, I remember sitting and talking to you, and when you're the one that decides sort of the end, I guess, the life support type decisions, the medical, I mean, I think we've all can relate to being on vacation, whether it's spring break or what have you, and you and your family went on a lovely trip and it ended like tragically. So talk to me about the very end and kind of what that looks like.
I think there's a lot of different ways hospitals handle, like, the end part of it, and do not resuscitate orders and things along those lines, and that's what it kinda came to the conclusion on that, at the point of where things have gotten to a point when her oxygen levels reached to a certain point, there was just nothing else we could do. So, it wasn't 5, 10 minutes after Leslie's parents walked in, we had a chance to say final goodbyes. Her heart stopped, and they asked us to step out. We had to go to the waiting room while they unhooked everything. I just remember hugging her parents, and then, they came back and got us again. Got to go back. And say goodbye again. And that it was to get all of like the bags. Like I had a book bag there with my stuff and the clothes Lesley had on her back. And then it was like a processional leaving the hospital. Like everyone knew. It was weird. It was tough. Like walking out of there and like I found myself thanking all of the staff, like for doing everything they could. Weird, like I couldn't be angry. It was like we all just walked out of war. Like some of the nastiest shit we'd ever seen. Worst thing I've ever experienced. And like there were some really special people up there. It was talked about in the eulogy about one of the nurse practitioners. He was an amazing guy. But he literally stood one night watching over Lesley so I could sleep. Like for an hour. Like he just stood there, arms crossed, right next to me, like overlooking her, like an angel. And like I was just sitting there telling him like how bad it was, how hard it was to sleep. He's like, I got her. Don't worry about it. You just try to get some sleep. And then he just stood there like he was standing guard. Like I woke up a couple times and like would turn over and open my eyes and dude was standing there still. I don't know how much time had passed every time I'd open my eyes. I just know every time I did wake up and open my eyes, he was there. Like did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Hmm. You remember his name?
I have a pretty good idea in my head, I think what it is, but it's in the eulogy. We're going to be posting. The eulogy was recorded. The whole service was recorded. We're going to post it for viewing. But the staff there was great. I was very appreciative of what the ICU staff did, but it was weird leaving. When you're there for a week, that was like the last day a lot of those people were there, or those people were switching out that day, so they've been there for the last 3 days. You're like saying bye to all these people after saying like the worst bye. And we're walking out to the car. We have a hotel room like 2 minutes down the street because the condo's 40 minutes away with no traffic. Walking out to the car, my contractor calls because Lesley and I just signed off on getting some work done here. Hey, I think you and Lesley are coming home today, right? Because like the day Lesley passed away, April 10th was the day we're supposed to fly home. And he wanted to try to get out there that afternoon to get started on some of it. And he loved Lesley and I and the boys. Like Drew's one of my very good friends I have since moving here. And that was like the first person I told after it happened. It had just, Drew dropped the phone. Couldn't believe he called. He felt so horrible for calling. How the hell would he know? You know, oh, I was like, that's like the first wave of reality. Cause like I had to say it out loud. Like it wasn't just a, yeah, it's probably going to happen. Still like crossing my fingers under the table or praying in my head, oh, God still might have a Hail Mary trick up his sleeve here, you know. We went back to the hotel. My mom, the boys, and another lady that had flown down to kind of help out my mom that week came to pick Lesley's parents up. And I sent everyone home on the plane. The ticket we had for my mom, Lesley's mom, and the boys, we found a ticket for Lesley's dad. And we put them all in that flight, sent them out back to Illinois an hour and a half after Lesley passed away. Everyone went home, or they should have, that day. And that's just what I tell myself.
Yeah, it's like the end of Leslie's life created a new harsh reality of a beginning
Mm-hmm.
for you. Talked a little bit about Everybody left. You're there.
In a hotel room.
You got to go home at some point.
I'm in Florida by myself now, where my wife just passed away. I'm in a hotel room. Um, what I did next was one of my best friends from college, one of my pledge brothers in my fraternity, lived just a half hour north of the hospital. He came down to visit a couple times that week and check on me, and he was in my wedding, and he's one of my ride or die dudes. Like one of the few people I'd trust my kids with without even questioning. Like, if I had to dump my kids off somewhere in 5 seconds with no explanation, trust them to the world, he's one of these guys. So they knew what happened. And my buddy and his wife came and picked me up and drove me down to the condo, where I proceeded to shower. And they packed up all of our stuff. Nick packed up all of my clothes. His wife, with just such grace and delicacy and care, was folding all of Lesley's clothes, like just so carefully, perfectly packing it away. Like it was like the, the president's clothes, or like the most royal of people. And she offered, because she's a nurse, and she was willing to go in and see if the hospital would let her help prepare Lesley's body for travel, or help do. I mean, she was just they're just amazing people. So they pack up my stuff, and the plan is I'm going to stay with them that night and maybe fly home the next day. I get a call from my employer at the time, from one of the top executives. Lesley worked at the corporate level. I worked at a local level for this company. And they couldn't imagine me flying home in walking through an airport carrying her luggage and mine. And so whenever I was ready to come back to Illinois, I was supposed to give them a 5 hours heads up minimum, and they would have a plane for me. That afternoon that Lesley passed away, I contacted the funeral home in Quincy that was going to handle the funeral and the services. And I know them. They're third generation family that we are very close with, that have handled so many funerals in our family, that I just knew they were going to handle it. And so he told me, Tom, you get home whenever you're ready, but there's nothing you can do or supervise from there. But I got you. Don't worry about a thing. I will text you every step of the way, everything that goes on. One of the most important lessons I learned in all of this happened that at my friend's house. And I didn't necessarily ask him if I could share this part of the story on my podcast, but I need to some extent, for people to understand part of the essence of grief and of this idea is from this night. So we walk into his house, and his wife has gathered a bunch of reading material for the boys. She's a NICU nurse at the time. And she knew some people at that hospital, different hospital, of like literature given to children and to families that lose someone in this kind of scenario. And so the plan was to sit down that night and go through all the material at their house so I can talk to the boys the next day. Like, what a blessed opportunity to have someone like have this material, because the hospital I was at didn't give me anything like that. Like, they gave me a folder, like when you check in, like, hey, here's for your visit, take notes, here's nearby restaurants. Like, there ain't nothing in there to help you prepare for this. They had one daughter together who had medical trauma of their own in birth, and has had so many health problems, and will not have a full normal life, where there's a chance they will have to bury their child before they go, kind of situation. And I'm sitting there on the couch, and she's right in between the ages of my boys, in age wise, not mental capacity. And I walk in and she knows me. I'm one of the few friends she kind of recognizes, and I have a cute nickname with her, Tonk. I don't know why, it's just Tonk. It's, and she was just excited to show me, like, her toys in her bedroom and, like, her dolls and these Matchbox cars she had no idea of what's happened or how to comprehend what's happened. And you asked a question like, how do you do things by thinking of so many others? Like, I just jumped right up and started playing with her and all of the trucks and the dolls and checking out her playroom and just acting like nothing was wrong. My buddy and his wife are going through their own deal, their own struggles. And Nick that day did a beautiful job of, and I agreed with him. Part of our culture's problem is we are just solely focused on our own problems. We don't want to have empathy. We don't want to have understanding of someone else's situation, problems. It doesn't mean my problems are any more or any less than his. They're mine. But he has his. And we can have respect for the trials we have to go through as parents, as men, as partners, as at any level you want to look at. That was a really important lesson that night, of just what's happened to me is real and it sucks. And I really just wish it wasn't happening. We've all sat down and told ourselves, man, I wish this wasn't happening.
100%.
Yeah.
So you wake up the next day, plane's there.
Yeah. Go to this airport, different airport. Um, I mean, it's once again like all these scenes that just feel like so cinematic, like just out of a movie. And like it's a nice plane. Like I'd never been anything like this. And they're telling me the altitudes we're going at and never been this high in a plane and all of these things. And um I'd taken my computer with me because I would occasionally do a little work while on vacation. And so everything got loaded on the plane. And um, as we got up, we're so high, you're not in blue sky anymore. It's like dark blue. Like you almost feel like you're closer to space than you are the ground. And like I can kind of see stars in the sky, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know if next time I'm this close to Lesley is when it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
And pull out my computer and type her obituary. Just felt right.
Mm-hmm. So from the beginning, the green flash, the fishing to, you're transitioning likely to the next episode.
Yeah.
What's the 2, 3 biggest takeaways from those 6 to 8 days that you want to leave the people watching this with?
And every situation's going to be so different. I don't think I overshared with anyone. I don't think I forgot anyone. But I think it's I don't know, the closest analogy I can think to, it's almost like an emergency plan, like if a tornado or a hurricane or like what are you going to do in those moments? Like it's like who's your circle? If things go south, who are the people you trust to keep you from falling off the edge too?
Yeah.
Because the moment we got in the hospital, it just turned into survival mode. Like not only for Lesley, but for me. Like there's no more long-term planning. It was like, what do I need to know this next 5 minutes? Like from the moment I dropped her off It was a minute by minute, like, lifestyle. I couldn't think about tomorrow. I couldn't even think about an hour from now because we were trying to fight the next 45 minutes to keep her alive. So at times you just have to be able to make decisions. Sometimes those decisions are going to be like who's going to watch your kids, who's going to watch your house, who is going to who are you going to trust with some of your like darkest fears.
Yeah, and it seems in your situation that there was always someone that came to mind or came to the hospital or came to wherever to do that. And, part of it is a testament to you and to Lesley and who you are as people, but I think it's also speaks to the humanity and how good people really are and how, you know, there's a lot of really awesome people out there that are there for us in these times. And I'm just really grateful that you shared your story of that, as you call it, the 6 days of hell.
Mhm.
A lot of lessons, a lot of powerful things there that we can all take from. And I appreciate you have always been a person that leans in, and I tend to be one who leans in as well. And I think that that's the other key is when people are going through that hell. A lot of people leaned in to you, and you were open to it. And by being open to it and bringing them into the tragedy, it really not only helped you, but it also helped them. That's definitely something that I can say that years later that you continue to do and you continue to work towards your story, Leslie's legacy being something that others that go through any form of grief, can get through it maybe with a little nugget, a little something better, and maybe just give them a little different perspective or level of hope. So
Yeah.
appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I think that that inner circle going back to the religious side, there's a lot of it that you can if you are religious or at least maybe understand where your religion's at.
Hmm.
We talk about gratitude and trying to find the glass half full, the lemonade when you're handed lemons. How many how many cliche type
Sure.
sayings? That week, Leslie was in the hospital. There were almost 10 stories I received via text or phone call, leaving voicemails of people having religious moments, returning to Christ, praying for the first time in decades, people that were abused in the church and 20 years later are making social media posts begging people to get out of bed and get on their knees and pray. People who've been so mad at God for 5, 6, 7 years and remove themselves and their children and their family from church were walking back in.
And so interesting that this culminated on Easter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to play off like I am, I could be a priest or I'm some kind of, um, I can't sit here and quote Bible scripture and things like that. I have a religious part of me, one that I have my relationship and struggles with. But that should be part of your circle. Whatever whatever you do to find the peace in yourself, to find your direction, whether that's God, Allah, whatever religion or vibe, if you're more of like, I love trees in the sun, like go out and get some vitamin D and hug a tree and get ready to go. If that's whatever it is, you got to have it ready and you got to know what's going to do it for you because you're not going to have time when it happens.
Yeah, it's a higher power,
Hmm.
whatever that higher power is.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you. That's anything else before we
No,
bring the first episode of your journey for the world to a
No,
close?
no, I think that's that's what got that's what got me to on the plane and coming back home. And I know our next conversations of things of how I told the boys and the week in Morton before we go back to the funeral is coming up. We got to talk about that. So there's some other stories that were very impactful to my grief journey, um, that I think others will find similar when they maybe have to go through theirs, or maybe help put definition to what they already had to go through. We sometimes look back and try to figure out what all of that meant, and maybe some of these stories will help you get that definition. So thanks for sitting here and getting it started. The first one.
Well, I think we can all say thank you for your willingness to be raw, open, honest, and share one of the hardest things that I can imagine that most of us will hope never go through, but we can all learn something from, the challenges and grief, hell, and all that stuff that the 6 to 7 days of that journey were for you. So thank you.
Yeah, it will close it with this. I think of a quote, just the way you said that, by Abraham Lincoln, and how it actually probably can tie to grief pretty well. Because grief is so different for every person. It's like your DNA, it's like your fingerprint. It's completely different for everyone else. And so the saying Abraham Lincoln had, I might get a little off, but it's, I'm not concerned that you have fallen. I am concerned that you shall arise. We all fall. We all get hit with grief. We're all going to lose someone that is going to set us back. That might be a parent, might be a sibling, might be your dog. Who knows what it may be, but it's going to happen. How are you going to respond to it? How are you going to get up? There's a lot of different ways to do it. So I'm excited about this show, our partnership, the other people that are going to sit here and share all the different ways there are to get back up, because all that matters is how you get back up.
Amen. 100%.
What a good way to end.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you very much.
Solid work.
All right. Everyone, thank you very much for episode number 1. That's it. 1 and 2. This is, I think, going to be broken out into 2 episodes. That's for all the editing people to help me out with. I love them too. Thank you, everyone that helped us get to this point. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait to hear more from you guys. Until that next time happens, remember, I'm Tom Van Ness. I'm your guide through grief. Until next time, have a great rest of your day. Love you guys.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope today's episode will help guide you forward. My goal for this podcast has always been to create a safe place for people who are navigating their grief journey to lean on one another and share their own experiences. I ask that you share, subscribe, like, and comment so we know how to best support you. Finally, we rely on listeners like you to help keep this journey going. Guide Through Grief is dependent on the support and contributions from you. Please consider supporting the show and our cause. Visit our social media pages or click the link in our description for more information. Thank you.